All right. Well, we are back 2025. This is the first podcast we've recorded in the new year, and we've taken a little hiatus. We've been here at the Fair Chase HQ working on a bunch of different hunts and projects and different things. And so figured we would check back in. We had a busy fall and a busy winter, and so figured we'd start recording again. And I didn't think there would be a better way to kick off, the 2025 podcast season than to have you, Cody, on the podcast. You're a regular. I think, is this time 2 or 3 with us?
I think so. Something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Hey, man, being the first one of the year, man, that's pretty cool.
Well, I guess what I'm going to say is just don't blow it.
I'll try. Sometimes I mumble, but
Yes. To keep you on task. Well, before we jump into it, Cody Butler, anything you want people to know about you?
I like to kill big deer, and I love my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
You know what? Those are 2 really good things. They resonate with me, although I would say there's a difference between liking to kill big deer and I like to kill big deer, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm out there, killing them. Right.
Yeah. It definitely depends on where you live in the country, probably. And, where you're at up there, it's probably a little more difficult. But yeah, no, it's definitely a passion. Love the management side of things and all that for sure. Honestly, anymore, I feel like I enjoy managing all my farms even more than the hunting and the killing part of it. But it's just fun to see them grow to their fullest potential. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, and you can show it in a minute, but you've shown me what the fullest potential can look like when it comes
The fullest potential this year, and with my biggest one yet. So been pretty blessed.
Where are you hunting? Where are you spending most of your time?
I live in Nebraska, right on the Kansas-Nebraska border. My house actually sits 100 yards from the state line. We've got land in both states. Probably hunt a little bit more in Kansas. We have a little bit more land in Kansas than we do Nebraska. I've lost some land in Nebraska over the last few years. Had some really good leases and stuff I've lost. But we have some really good family-owned land in Kansas that my dad and I work really, really hard on, and that's where we spend most of the time there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this episode is also brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan, and whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out. I feel like I've always thought this for folks that live right on the border between states, that they shouldn't have to pay out of state fees for tags, because if you're within a quarter mile of the line, you should be able to get in resident prices for both states.
That would be nice. Well, honestly, it would be even better is if you could get, if you owned land. I mean, obviously we are paying taxes just like a resident, on that land. It would be nice if we could get, cheaper landowner, type tags, like residents can basically. That would be nice. We can get cheaper, for example, I'm the tenant manager of all of the land. So, I control all the land for my grandmother. I have a contract with her that, she pays me to do that. And I can then, I do all the contracts with our farmers. We cash rent everything out. So I'm then allowed to get a tenant license in Kansas, which is nice because, I can get a tag every year. But it's still, I think it costs me By the time I get my hunting license and the tenant permit, I think it's, I don't know, like around 130, maybe $140 to shoot one buck. So, I mean, it's not like crazy expensive, but if you were a resident, that own land, it's, I don't even know where it is. Probably not even $50. I don't know. It's pretty cheap, Yeah.
Yeah. I'll write some letters. I'll see what I can do for you. And no.
I'm not going to complain.
Petition the congressman and whatnot. I'm sure that the Kansas Congress really cares about what a guy from, Michigan thinks about somebody that's, not even related. But, whatever. Well, we're democracy. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Hi. So, let's talk about the fall a little bit. Love to hear about, how yours went and what you were up to and, what it looked like.
Yeah. So, I guess kind of coming off of last season, I mean, honestly, the last several seasons, just seems like, the work that we put into these properties have really paid off, and, just been very blessed. Last year, kind of dedicated myself to a recurve, hunted my whole deer season, archery in Kansas with, a recurve. I didn't ask, was hunting with a Hoyt Satori last year.
Loves the Satori.
Yeah, so I was kind of fun. Kind of got into it with an old bear that my grandpa had when he passed away that I inherited. Kind of got into it that way. Kind of a cool backstory there. But yeah, I hunted with the Hoyt Satori last year. Ended up my season was fairly short. Hunted a couple times in September and just kind of hung back and watched the cameras. I was kind of going after a specific deer I called triple drop tine, and hunted him 2 times, ended up shooting him in the middle of October. Just a giant 181-inch deer. First deer with a recurve. Just kind of one of those, I kind of went into it thinking, I just wanted to kill a mature deer. I didn't really care what was on his head. And, to be able to do that, the first year ever with a recurve was pretty cool. And then, fast forward into this year, didn't really have a whole lot of expectation, kind of going into the year. And,
boy, were you wrong.
yes, boy, was I wrong. Had a deer show up. I got one single picture of that deer. The deer I ended up killing. Got one picture of him in late summer in velvet, and that was it. He kind of went MIA. And once I got that picture, as a deer that I'd had some history with in prior years, 2 years prior when we found a 5-year-old, I actually drew back on this deer 3 times in one evening. He was probably a mid-70s type deer then. Just a really solid deer, come in there with a doe and had her, and I drew back on him several times, couldn't get him to stop, and then he was behind some stuff, and I just couldn't get an ethical shot, so I didn't take it. And he ended up busting himself up pretty good about a week after that. There was a really big 8-pointer in there. I'm assuming they got together. And so I just kind of quit hunting him and started hunting a couple other deer, and he was kind of hit and miss last year. Well, 2 years ago now, because 2025. But yeah, and then kind of didn't hunt him a whole lot there because he was just kind of really hit and miss, and then ended up killing the triple drop. And then this year he shows back up and was just, when I got the single one picture of him there in the summer, I basically told my dad and Whitney, like, this is the only deer I'm hunting. I'll burn my tag. Like, I mean, you guys can hunt him too, obviously, but like,
you know where I'll be. Yeah.
I'll be basically, but I'm not gonna hunt him unless I think I can kill him. And basically went through pretty much all of September, had no clue where he was, never hunted, just kind of sat back and relaxed, hunted Nebraska a little bit, and finally figured out he was about a quarter to a half mile to the east, on a guy that I know over there, but showing up at weird times, like 10 o'clock to midnight, like pretty regularly. So we thought he was bedding. We kind of exchanged some intel in years past and information, and we kind of thought he was bedding south of him in kind of just a big pasture, kind of a dry creek bottom pasture in between 2 cornfields, and then coming up to him at night. And finally, the 29th of October, like 2 days prior, they moved cows into that pasture. And I finally got pictures of him on the 29th of October in the morning.
They just pushed him out or just kind of got him on his.
That's fun here. I mean, if you usually, when guys put cows in their pastures or even in, their timber, stuff like that, it just seems like mature bucks don't like it.
OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence.
Yeah, some of the family groups of does and stuff, if there's enough room, they'll stay around. But in my experience, it seems like when you move cows in to where bucks are staying, they just don't like to tolerate it very long. And I just had a feeling he was going to come home eventually. He was there as a 3-year-old. He was there as a 4-year-old. He was there as a 5-year-old. Kind of was hit and miss as a 6-year-old. Shows back up as a 7. And I just had a feeling he was going to come home, and he did finally on the 29th. Hunted him the evening of the 29th, got pictures of him that morning, did not see him, but saw another really good mature deer in there and a bunch of bucks. Did not hunt him the next morning, didn't have the right wind. Hunted him the next evening, cold front moved in, didn't see him, saw a ton of activity. Basically left everything in the tree because I knew while he was there, I really wanted to hunt him, pretty hard as long as I wasn't, hurting the area, and everything was perfect. So I slipped in there the next morning after that, and which would have been 31st morning, I guess. And that was Halloween morning, and had a pretty slow morning. Honestly, it was kind of shocking because it was just the perfect weather. Cold front moved in the day before. It was really cool, like upper 20s that morning, super high pressure. I'm like, this is the morning, if he's around. And I saw one young buck and like 2 or 3 does, and it gets to be about 8:30 or so. We were sitting there kind of talking to the good lad, I guess, like, man, this is kind of a disappointing morning. Like, I'm thinking things are going to be really on fire, and just was really slow, and kind of sitting there looking to the east, and there's kind of just a funnel where the stand is. It comes from the east, and I kind of just in my head thought, the evening before and this morning, nothing had come down that funnel from the east, which usually is a really high activity area. And the sun was kind of shining right through there, and I just kind of was like, man, why in the world has nothing come from there? Like, I'm kind of looking through there, like, man, did like a tree fall down and block that area or something? Did something happen? And as I'm looking right there, I got a shadow, I could see a shadow of legs coming through that area. And I just kind of thought to myself, like, here I was talking and kind of complaining in my mind, why is nothing coming from that? Or why does this morning just stink? Whatever. And it's just almost like the good Lord was like, oh, you want something to come from the east? Here you go.
Yeah, that's right.
It's just kind of one of those deals, just kind of one of those cool special moments in the woods. And I couldn't see the deer. I could just kind of see his shadow the way the sun was coming. And I could kind of catch a glimpse of his body, and he stopped and had his head down, and he picked his head up, and there's kind of just a circle, just a hole, I don't know, about, yay big. And he picked his head up right into that circle. And I saw it was him, probably 80 yards through the timber, 75, I don't know. And I knew he was checking scrapes. I had rattled about 15 minutes prior, probably. And I think he was just, as an old mature buck does a lot of times, they come in later sneaking and looking, going on in that area. And I think he was coming through checking that scrape line after hearing that fight, just kind of wondering, what was going on. And I had a scrape right in front of me at 19, 20 yards, and I knew he was coming right to it, and got everything set up, and he come in and just put on an absolute show. Just tore the scrape up, and I was at full draw for like a minute and 14 seconds, because when he come in, he come in kind of quarter in two and then turned right towards me.
Yeah.
And I was already at full draw, and I actually kind of had to take a shot on that I didn't want to take, but he was either there were two trails he could take. He could turn and go completely broadside. Well, he was angled to take this one that comes to like point blank right underneath the tree. And I didn't want to take a straight down quartering to shot, basically. So I've high, and the angle actually kind of come in pretty high, quartering to, hit that long, perfect, facing me. And then it went through that long, right through the middle of his liver and lodged in his back hip, basically. And he went like 40 yards maybe and piled up. So it were pretty crazy deal. Yeah, my biggest deer ever. Short deal, hunted him 3 hunts, I guess, and got him killed, and ended up going 207.
That you want to throw them up on the screen? I know, you got them right there.
Whoopee, right here.
Jeez, dude.
See them all there, but just a big mainframe 6x6, split 2 on this side, little kicker point, junk on the bases, huge like 9-inch brow on this side, and then this side here's got a big, almost mule deer fork split G3, and
I love those. I love who does that.
really cool snooker point coming off here, kind of like almost like a Captain Hook point there, and just a true Kansas giant for sure.
So, if you were shooting in that in Michigan, right? You're like, so like a top 10. I don't know what the score is. Would be the top. Like, where does that like fit into the?
I didn't have him officially scored. I've never had any of my deer officially score. I guess I just don't. I've never entered anything in the books. I just don't care, I guess, enough. I just want mature and just love to see them grow. So my buddies and I score them, pretty good to the best of our ability. And we've done, a lot of them. So we feel like we're pretty close, but, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he would net. That's a gross score. You clean him up, and, take all of his extra points off. He's right around 191. I would assume he would net maybe somewhere in the 180s, if just guessing. Which just nets are for fishing, in my opinion. Just nets for the net scoring system is just goofy to me. I mean, if they grew it, they should get it, in my opinion. Which I kind of like the Buckmaster's way of going. The Buckmaster scoring method. They pretty much just give them everything, which he makes way more sense.
What's the one? Isn't there like a water displacement one too, where you like set it in and how much water? Have you ever heard of this?
Yeah, I've heard of that. I don't really know a whole lot about it, I guess, but
for me, a big buck's a big buck. That's a big buck. Yeah, the giant.
My biggest deer prior to this, gross scores 187 and something, and he only nets like 156 because he's got so much abnormal, stuff going on, and has so many deductions. And that's just, to me, that's insane. It's just ridiculous in my opinion.
Deductions are lame because, like, the coolest bucks are the ones that get the most deductions for whatever.
Oh, for sure. To me, like, you even look at the Milo Hansen buck, which is the world record typical, and amazing deer, but he's the world record because he's so perfect and so symmetrical. There's been, to me, in my opinion, way bigger typicals killed than that deer. But just because that deer's so perfect, he's reigned supreme for a long time. Well, for sure.
Well, that's amazing, man. I mean, what a run. Just a unbelievable, couple of bucks you've been putting.
Yeah. Show you. Well, we got it. The one I shot with a recurve we talked about is hanging right over here. I actually just moved him. We called him triple drop. It's actually kind of flyer, but he's got like this big flyer point and then 2 drops here.
What an unbelievable.
Just a big framey sucker.
Yeah, man. To do it with a recurve, my first deer with a recurve was a doe. So, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I had turkey hunted that spring, and kind of with one. So kind of, hunted with one and got used to hunting with one, I guess, and then just went right into it.
Yeah, all of it. And that's, I found when I was in the trad game, I sold all my stuff because I'm like, Yeah, I don't want training wheels. If I'm doing it this year, and actually did it for 3 years, I'm going, balls to the wall. Like I'm not giving myself, because you buy one buck and then you just go back to your.
No, I did the same thing. I got rid of all my compound stuff, and funny enough, going into this year, I didn't have a bow, so I kind of try to set a goal for myself every year, just do something interesting or funny. And actually, the bow I ended up using to kill this deer, I bought an old Matthews solo cam on eBay and set it up. Have what? Yeah, have less than $500 on into the whole thing and shot my biggest deer ever. So kind of a cool story there.
Turns out you don't need every year to get the newest bow. Not that's cool, and I love it, and but that's not necessary for killing stuff.
Oh, and bows have just gotten insane anymore. I mean, some of these bows anymore, when you get them fully set up, you got $3,000 into them before you can. And those bar guys, they can't do that. So, check out the eBay game, or there is honestly, I feel like some pretty good budget bows out there anymore. Yeah. Matthews don't really have. I think Hoyt has one. I think Bear Archery, I feel like, is great with a lot of their budget bows. They're definitely out there. So, and I've tested one of the the THP, the Hunting Public guys have their Bear Archery solo cam. It's package bow for like $550. I've messed with one of those. Pretty dang good bow really for the money.
So, and people always, we get a lot of questions like that. It's like, oh, should I upgrade my bow? This is what I do. Should I upgrade? I'm always like, 99% of the time, nah, you don't need to upgrade. You give it like a good decade with that.
Maybe every 2-3 years, get a new string for it and keep barrel looped up and ready to go and tuned, and no reason to.
No, spend it on tags,
for sure.
Because that's what, hunting is what makes you a better hunter. Hunting more, now here you have.
Overall, the doing the recurve thing really made me realize that you don't need all the fancy stuff. I just, that bow was a 45-pound bow. I chronoed at like 160 feet a second, shooting a 525 grain arrow. I'd blew clear through that deer at 23 yards. Like, it wasn't
23 yards. That's it.
Yeah, it blew clear through him just like I shot him with a compound. So it kind of just made me realize you don't need the best of the best. Now if I was going elk hunting or shooting something bigger, maybe. But for whitetail, yeah, or not. Broadhead choice and stuff like that goes a long ways.
Get close. Yeah, no, that's goes. Well, my season, I did not shoot anything in the 200-inch range. Tagged out in Michigan on what I think were great bucks. Both with that buck hammer. That was my first year with the buck hammer below the line where I live. And so, historically, I've just shot my bow for gun season around home and then gone up north and used, different guns that I've had. This year, I took the buck hammer out and did well. It did real well. That gun has shot like 4 deer so far, 5 deer.
I really enjoy that cartridge. It to me, 200 yards and in, it's a really, really good gun. It hits hard. It's not crazy hard on your shoulder. Pretty much anybody can shoot it. And with the 180 grain Remingtons that I was shooting, it was shooting pretty darn. I got to shoot 1-inch groups at 100. So which for a straight wall cartridge and a lever action, this is pretty good.
Not gonna get better than that.
Oh no.
No, I've liked it. The one buck actually I shot first with it was above the line. I could have used anything, but I just had it and I was feeling, good with it. So I brought it up, brought it to near some family land. And actually now 2 years in a row, I've shot good bucks there. And previous to that, I had never shot a good buck in this area. It was just kind of, growing up, it wasn't great hunting there. And last handful of years, I've just, once gun season rolls around and I'm up there, I typically shoot the first doe that walks out at that point, And so this year I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to shoot a buck and ended up doing well here. Then it comes down. Yeah. Came back down with my daughter and actually Joe and his son. We're all sitting in he calls me up. He's like, I got a buck on camera. Do you want to get D, my daughter, out and see if she can shoot it? I'm like, yes. So we load up, head out, and we get the gun on the tripod, and the buck comes out from the neighboring field and he's moving across, and she's newer to rifles. She hasn't shot a lot, and I really probably should have out with her more in the summer, but she's 12, so it's hard to get her to all that. So we finally, we get out there and she just cannot find him in the scope. We're trying to help her, and finally she's like, she kind of gives me a look, and she didn't want Joe to know, but he should shoot it. I don't want to shoot it. And so I'm like, all right, take it. I'm like, I'll shoot. I mean, we're all here in this little tent together, and I thought he was maybe 100 and change, like close, but 171. And I aimed dead on as if it was 100 and still shot the heart out of him at 171. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty, it don't drop a crazy amount. I mean, compared to some,
there's probably a 5-inch drop for 4-inch drop from where I was aiming at that point.
Yeah. So for, 4 inches at 175, I mean, you're probably looking at, 8, maybe 7, 8, 6, something like that at 200. So, it's not too bad. The dial, you could zero it for 150 and, aim dead on at 102 and be just fine.
And that's really, you never have to mess with your sight again. Yeah, right now I've got actually to get ready for this year and get ready for this lion hunt that I did with my 30-30. My scopes are all on the wrong guns right now. I want to go, open sight with the 30-30, the Henry that I've got, throw my loophole on my 360 and then take my, more higher power, a Vortex and throw it on my 300 Win Mag. Right now, my 300 Win Mag is naked, and I've got Spring Bear coming up in a few months, so that's definitely on my mind to get set up over the winter and be going there. But it was a good year for me. I mean, I'm coming off that, shot a bunch of deer. We actually, where I live now, I'm in Kent County, Michigan. They extended deer season out till the end of January because it's like an urban zone.
Awesome. That's what I've been doing. Ours goes to the 15th here in Nebraska. So I've been out testing some new Henrys here on the ducks. And so
I love the late season is like, and I'm trying to, because we can shoot bucks too. My brother's got tags. I'm like, dude,
oh geez,
you see it. Late season could be some of the best, easiest buck hunting you can do. They are very patternable.
Food and the cover, it can definitely be a really great time to get out there.
You look for tracks. They're very patternable again. It's like September all over again, which we don't get much for bucks here in Michigan. So that's good. It's been going well. Did the cat hunt, which were,
congrats on that, man. That's cool. That's cool.
Huge. We'll do a whole thing about it, but we got to film and stuff coming. But like the hunt itself was wild. The cat was wild. Everything there. This wasn't shared in the film. I'll share a story, and I don't know if I told you this yet. So we end up getting the cat treat after all this stuff goes on, right? And we're on snowmobiles, and it's like, all right, we got to rip around this mountain to get to a better spot to walk in to catch up with the hounds and check the dogs out and the mountain lion and whatever else. So we're ripping around the mountain, and these snowmobiles have dog boxes in the back. Like, throw your dogs in there on sleds or whatever. And we're going so fast, the guide's in front of me. I let my camera guy go in front of me, and I'm behind him. He had never driven a snowmobile before. He's from Michigan, never been on a snowmobile, which I thought was, well, they're all in the back, whatever. And we come around a corner, and the guide's going so fast, his box is just barrel rolls. Like, it's just flipping all over the place. So he stops. Oh, chase. I'm like, all right, well, and there's no dogs in it, just for everybody listening. He's empty, but I turn around and I had my Kafaru, my backpack, strapped to the back seat of the snowmobile with my rifle. I had a 30-30 Henry in there. right down. Well, on the turns, it had slipped down. And so I had been driving through, it's like half snow, half rocks, and just, great barrel just dragging us. Oh, yeah. It there. And we're like, oh, oh no, like this is, I hope it's okay. So I, blow out try to blow all the sticks and shit out of there. And like,
Oh gosh.
Thankfully it performed just fine, but I got a little cleanup to do. I've started a little bit on the gun, but it's got a few little love marks in there. But
Up sights.
the didn't go on the sights. It was just man, if it was the sights, at that point you just try to, I don't even know what I would. I'm glad I don't even have to think about that. I don't have to worry about it.
Well, now every time you see those little word marks on there, you can be reminded of your cat hunt when you take it out.
The tight butt moment where your sphincter tightens up. Yeah. Because after that was the last cat that we would have gotten on. It was late in the day. And obviously that was the end of the hunt for us. But the guides after that didn't take somebody out for a couple weeks because just early December, and it wasn't until way after Christmas that they went out. I think, again, I haven't checked back in, but the weather was just bad. If you don't have snow, you can still track, but only if the conditions are right. So if it's a morning where it's real cold and all the ice crystals form on the ground, by the time the sun hits that, it all evaporates and the scent goes with it. So most days, if it's freezing at night, warmer in the day, you're kind of shot. So yeah. So that complicated things. But anyways, we'll share a bunch about that here pretty soon. And yeah, it was good. Good time.
Sounds like an exciting hunt.
It was different than any hunt that I've ever done. But I think if you're a big into hunting, you got to do it. I guess it was a blast, and it was just cool to learn about them. We've been eating them. Like, they're delicious. Our guy.
That's probably something, I hear, even with cats, with bear, with a lot of things, guys don't think of that being, an edible meat, I guess, you just don't think about it. But I have heard that, if done right, it's very good.
Yeah. It has no gaminess, none. It's very mild, very mild. Like this would be one of the meats, I think, if it wasn't so much for the stigma of it came from a cat. And as more into the hunt, I'm like, yeah, it just tastes like any cat you'd ever eat, any house cat. But like, if it wasn't for that, I would give it to people because it has no gamey flavor. It's like it would be a very good introductory meat. And
is it dark meat?
No, light, like pork.
Oh, light.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like, and it's the fat. I ground up all the fat with it. I kept all.
Well, I mean, you think of a diet of a mountain lion. I mean, they're eating pretty good.
They're eating pretty good, and they don't eat rotten meat, I was told.
Yeah. No, that would so yeah, cats are finicky about stuff like that. They usually want to eat fresh kills. So
yeah. So it's been good. Like I said, it's been one I would recommend. The story in the film that we're making is going to be epic. We're doing a lot about like why you hunt. Why would you hunt a mountain lion? Because you tell hunter, and I did that a bunch going into it. Why would you do it? And people are like a little horrified. Like, why would you do that? It's terrible. Like, aren't there no mountain lions around? And
there's more than people think. Even in places that, like, for example, like around here, I mean, it's not a mountain lion area, obviously, but I mean, it's every year people are starting to get pictures of them. And I'd say, gosh, I mean, I'm going to be 34 here in a couple weeks, but even when I was in high school, what's that?
It's old, but
old. I'm getting old. That's hard to believe. It's kind of hurts me a little bit to say that, but even back when I was in high school, I mean, we had people, sighting them, and at that time, nothing to be million to the state of Nebraska, but if you saw a mountain lion back then, they're like, there's no mountain lions here, blah blah blah. You saw this, whatever, and there's people seeing them with collars and all sorts of stuff. So they're around.
What I learned from one of the things I learned from the biologist we talked to is they're doing well. What we ended up doing is we moved west, and we've developed land that used to be kind of, didn't have ag in it, didn't have food. So what we did is we created more habitat for ungulates, and they move in. So now, you look at like Boulder, Colorado, they didn't have a lot of town deer for a long time. Suddenly they, those town bucks. What happens is it takes a handful of years, and all of a sudden, lions are like, oh, mule deer are what I like to eat. There's a new place that mule deer are. I'm going to go to that place. And so you read, and, so no, we'll dive all into the film. But
I think they travel like crazy too. I know it's been years and years ago, but when my cousin used to be a deputy sheriff, and I can't remember if it was South Dakota or North Dakota, and this story might be a little bit wrong. It's been 15 years or more, but I think South Dakota, North Dakota, or something like that, was doing a study on the distance a cat could travel or something. They called here, like the sheriff's department here and the game wardens here, and said that they were tracking a cat on it with a collar, or whatever that they had been watching for years. And that cat ended up going, like I said, from North Dakota or South Dakota, that clear down to Oklahoma and then back within like a 5-year period or something like that. It was a crazy, crazy deal. But we've had we had a Cyrus moose come through this area from Colorado. It ended up being like a crazy story. It ended up in like Wisconsin or Michigan from Colorado. Wild stuff. We have elk show up, which our elk population in Nebraska is getting bigger and bigger. It's a resident only tag, once in a lifetime deal. And we have it's kind of a hidden secret, for the residents, but we have absolutely massive elk out in Nebraska. And, they're starting to show up around here, here and there. So
I love that. Well, the cat we ended up shooting, we got in and hunted on a Monday, but I got a call from them on a Sunday while I'm walking out of church, and they're like, just come down. We just cut tracks today. And in the time between kind of like Sunday, where, actually could have blended into Monday, where we ended up finding the tracks, till when we caught up with that cat, it went like 30 plus miles, and it bred a peak in that time.
Dude, smoke. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. Well, it surprised me. That cat's just going to follow the food, type of deal.
They follow the food. They're very smart. There are a lot of them, and they don't ever, there's not like a rut, like a time where they all are just constantly going into heat. So those toms are just, they're always cruising for chicks. So
for sure. I remember when I was younger, I can't remember if I was in college or when that was, but we did have one move through. A lot of people here in our area, where what we call our home farm, where my dad grew up, my grandparents still live. We had one go through there, and a bunch of neighbors had seen it. Actually, where I live now, a farmer was going by. There's a river bridge right here. The Republican River goes right by my house, and a guy had seen it down in the river drinking one day early in the morning going into town. Anyway, it was here for a while, and it's been years and years ago, but my dad was deer hunting that year and thought he had seen it when he was deer hunting across the river, kind of sneaking through the trees. And the next morning I hunted in that area, and I didn't hear a bird chirp. I didn't see a squirrel. I didn't see a deer. It was the most like eerie, weird morning of just complete quiet. It's like everything in the area knew something was up, and something was in there, but you're kind of wild. So then I'm walking out thinking like,
go around. Yeah. You think differently, because, we had seen interviewing these biologists. One of them had a cat skull, like an 18-month-old lion skull that had been, it was another lion. It was a lion on lion violence, right? So it bite marks in the back of its skull that it just was crushed the whole spinal column. But he took his fully grown cat and popped the bottom jaw off, and you could fit right where the holes were. So they're killing machines. Like, you pick up their head, and it's like I've never had anything like that where you pick up the head of an animal and it's like, this head is for one thing. Like it is pure power. And he had shown me bears and people and deer, your jaws can go back and forth. It has a little bit of movement. Mountain lions have such a big space for their muscle or for their jaw to only go up or down. It's just made for it's.
Yeah, that's basically how they kill, isn't it? Mostly, I mean, hooking onto a neck basically and chomping down.
Yeah, there's no side. It's only up and down. And
This crazy amount of bite force. I've always said, I mean, even it's funny, like we have a farm cat here at the house, you know, whatever. I've always said it's crazy to watch even like a house cat hunt. I mean, they are so meticulous and just crazy smart with how they hunt. I mean, they are the ultimate predator.
their efficiency is wild. I read something somewhere how many songbirds have been gone extinct in the U.S. because of the introduction of house cats. Oh, dude, like wipe stuff out.
So we used to have two male cats here, and I got both of them fixed. They're outside cats, whatever. But you know, we have a field right here in mice, so we keep a few cats around. Well, unfortunately, they both got hit on the highway out here after I don't know 4 or 5 years of having them, and so then we were gonna get a couple more, and then this female just showed up one evening. My wife's sitting on the couch. We got a French doors right there with big windows, and she can hear a cat meowing in the evening, and there's just like little teeny female, I mean just a kitten sitting at the door like wanting in. And so we took it in or whatever. We're assuming maybe it like jumped on the UPS truck, or like it was probably somebody's pet, but we couldn't find, because it wanted in, like it knew to come inside. It was super clean and whatever, probably hitched a ride or got dumped, or something.
Right.
And anyway, she's ended up being a great cat. But dude, that thing compared to the two males that we had, this female, dude, she kills everything. She has brought me rabbits, squirrels, snakes, birds. I mean, everything.
Amazing.
Even she is unbelievable how good she is at killing stuff. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, cats are something. So I mean, we spent the week learning about all this stuff, and yeah, you learn a lot. I can't wait to show it. And the 30-30, man. The classic 30-30, the cartridge I grew up in, did a number. That cat was dead before I didn't know it. I shot him as he was jumping. By the time he landed, he was done, dead.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, obviously, they say like a 30-30's probably killed more whitetail deer, just big game species in North America than any other cartridge, just because it's been around so long. And I think it gets, kind of crapped on, honestly, anymore. I mean, we have so many wildcat rounds anymore and so many different, fancy long range cartridges, but I have never shot a deer with a 30-30 that went more than 50 yards. I don't think. I mean, stuff just dies when they get shot with them. And no, they're not a long range cartridge, but if you're, in an area where you're not shooting past 200 yards, I mean, I've killed deer at 180, 200 yards with a 30-30. And I feel like we have advancements in bullet performance, now and stuff like that.
Yep.
Corridy's got their ballistic tip lever evolution. I've done really good with that. Federal has their hammer down now, which Henry kind of is involved with. And, I think Bonds and Sierra have some really good bullets, as well up there. Yeah.
I ever for like their kind of regular line, and they've both been great for me. So
yeah, I mean, that bullet performance anymore. I mean, it ain't what it was 30 years. It's completely different for sure.
I gotta ask though, so everybody that is listening, like Cody's, primary claim to fame, other than shooting big old bucks, is all work for Henry, and you guys got the new one of those Supreme platforms out. Like, what's the deal with that?
Okay, so it's something that's been in the works for a very, very long time, but basically Henry wanted to, do something very different in the lever action world. We came out with the buck hammer, kind of in partnership with Remington last year before. it's a Remington cartridge, but we were able to build the guns first for them, so that was pretty cool. But they really wanted to do something that was just completely different. And we come up with the Supreme. It's been in the works for many years. We actually kind of teased it a year ago at SHOT Show, and then everybody kind of wondered, where the heck did it go? There was just basically what we want to do is just make sure. I mean, we've torture tested this thing. We've put it through the ringer. We've done everything we could have possibly done over several years to make sure this thing is the ultimate Supreme lever action rifle. And it really is. And it's very unique. And, it's come out in 2 cartridges to begin with. Kind of just some more simple stuff that's very readily available. 223 and 556, and then 300 Blackout is the 2 cartridges we're coming out with originally here, and they're out now. We've been shipping them for a little over a month now. But really what kind of the claim to fame, with these is, number one, we're going to be able to put so many different cartridges into this platform. We're even mostly because it's a magazine fed design.
How does that work? That you pop in the box.
Let me grab one here for you. Oh, I got mine here, I guess. I forgot. I got the 223 right here. Let me pop a sling off here so it's easier to move around.
Design is like very different than there's no hammer.
Very, very different. So as if you've ever handled a lever gun at all, you got to cock the hammer, to fire it. So this is basically all internal. You can see back here, there's no hammer. You've got a thumb safety.
Yeah.
So that's very different. Everything is internal on the action. So your bolt and everything moves internal. It does not come out the back like your lever actions of the past. And the 223 and the 556 and the 300 Blackout are all going to come shipped with a 10-round P mag. So these are AR mags. These are interchangeable. You could put a 30-round mag in this if you wanted to and run it. It's very, very simple. It's kind of a spring-loaded deal here. You just push this little lever and it pops right out. Really simple. And we do ship them too for like states. I don't know, what Michigan's laws are. But with some states, when they have magazine capacity deals, whatever, you can't run more than like 5 rounds. So what we are doing is shipping an adapter, which I have in this one here. You basically pop out the bottom of your P mag, insert a little adapter, and makes this a 5-round mag.
Yeah.
But the lever on these things, it's basically a geared system in here, and you can literally run these levers with your pinky finger. I mean, it is ridiculous how smooth these are. I mean, to be honest with you, when I first got it, I was joking with some of our guys there that it is literally so smooth and almost feels broken because there's just no friction there. It is just so smooth. They're going to come threaded as well. Both of them, free floated barrel. I mean, this is basically our version of a match grade bolt action rifle with a lever action platform. And what I love about a lever action compared to a bolt gun is, to me, you can stay on target longer and you can be faster because there's less motion. With a lever action, you're just right here. That's the only motion. Whereas a bolt, I've got to pull the trigger, come up here, rack my bolt, and then get back into it. Whereas a lever action, I mean, you pull the trigger and you're right back into the trigger. And with something smooth like this, and all the Henrys are crazy smooth, is you've used one here the last year, but yeah, I'm excited because this platform is just going to allow us to do so many cool things. I mean, I can't wait to have this thing in like, a 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, 243, maybe, we've talked even about maybe 6.5 PRC. We've talked about even trying to possibly even adapt longer cartridges into this, not just short stuff. So like, your 300 Win Mag, your 270, 30-06, stuff like that, that's things that we're really wanting to do in the future.
Oh, we'll see. Cool. Yeah. I've always been I grew up on a lever gun. I've got plenty of bolt guns, love them, but there's just something that is familiar and comfortable with, which the gun that I shot for the first decade and a half of hunting.
Well, lever actions have always been kind of looked at as a short range rifle, a short range hunting rifle or a brush gun, like the 45-70s, 35 Remington was a really big cartridge back in the day.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, 30-30, like we talked about. So to be able to have that quick ability to stay on target, rack another round in there really quickly, and more of a longer range precision type rifle is definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really
good. I've got both of mine to shoot sub 1 inch groups at 100, which is just something that, hasn't been possible in a lever action. Now long rangers shoot really good too.
Yeah.
But I mean, even this platform compared to the long ranger, even just the smoothness of the action and how light these are, they're unreal. They're really cool. Sorry about it.
I will kill a lot of more deer and probably bears with some of the Henrys that I've got going already.
Yeah, get a couple more in your hands.
So I would not be opposed to that for sure. All right. Well, hey, we're just about up on time here. So why don't we end with where can people find out more about these Supremes since I've got you here and we're talking about it?
WinRUSA.com. Feel free to reach out, email, phone call, all that information is on the contact page on Henry USA. You can check out cool content on our Instagram page and Facebook page, stuff like that. So yeah, go check them out, guys.
Yeah, love it. Big fan. I shot a bunch of deer with mine so far this year. And so reach out to me if you have questions too. Happy to lend any experience that I've had to help people out. So appreciate everybody for joining in. Cody, thanks again for the time, and we'll all...
Hey, Barrett, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.